So let's continue. I hope you are back. I hope you're back. I hope you're back. So we continue. We move to the other paper here, which is basically the mock paper. The mock paper, I think some of the questions which have been repeated. So what you're going to do, we will skip those questions which have been repeated from part 1. So question 1, I think, is a repetition. Question number 2 is a repetition in part A and part B. But if we go to question 2C, that one is not a repetition. So we can start with that one, question 2. Question 2C. So the question reads, explain 6, that is the explain 6 instances when the floating charge crystallizes. So we are equal to explain 6 instances, 6 circumstances where the floating charge do what? Crystallizes. 6 instances when the floating charge crystallizes, when the floating charge do what? Crystallizes, when the floating charge crystallizes. Remember, we say that we talk about a charge, basically, we say that this refers to the transfer. This refers to the transfer of interest in an asset in order to secure the payment of money which has been borrowed. It basically refers to the transfer of interest in an asset in order to secure the repayment of money borrowed. Generally, what we say is that once the company has borrowed a loan from the bank, or basically the company has issued debentures, the company may have to secure that money which has been borrowed. So the company secure the money which has been borrowed, or secure the repayment of money borrowed using its assets, or basically the company's undertaking. We say the company's undertaking is the business of the company. So the business of the company can be used as a collateral security. In this case, we talked about 2 types of charges. And the fixed charge, which you said is a charge which is created on a specific asset, which is usually of permanent nature, like maybe the company borrow money and that money is secured against land, against what? A building. So it is secured against a specific asset, which is of permanent nature. On the other hand, we said a floating charge. This is basically a charge which is created on a class of asset. A class of asset which, in the ordinary course of business, that the asset which are the asset in that particular class, they keep on changing. They keep on changing. A good example is whereby the company has borrowed money and the company has secured that using the current asset. We know current asset comprises of inventory, comprises of what? Comprises of trade receivables, cash in hand, cash at bank, and in the ordinary course of business, the current asset keep on changing. Keep on what? Changing. So therefore, this is a charge which is created on a class of asset, which in the ordinary course of business keep on changing, or a charge which is created on the undertaking of the business. And actually, we say that this particular charge will keep on moving from one asset to the other. That's why literally we refer to it as a floating charge. We know something which is floating on water is something which keep moving from point A to point B. Is not it keep on moving from point 1 to point B. So therefore, this particular charge will keep on moving from one asset to the other until such time when the floating charge will do what? Will crystallize. And actually, we say crystallization of the floating charge. This is a process through which a floating charge. It is the process through which a floating charge becomes a fixed what? Becomes a fixed charge. Becomes a fixed what? A charge. So a charge which was created on a number of assets or a class of assets, but now the company has identified one asset to secure that debt. So it is a floating charge, but now has become what? Has become a fixed. That's basically what we call the crystallization. Crystallization of the floating charge. We said a floating charge can crystallize as a number of or in a number of circumstances, in a number of instances. So which are those particular instances which can make the floating charge to crystallize? Number one is when the company ceases to carry on business, when the company ceases to carry on a business. When we talk about the company ceasing to carry on business, this is whereby the company suspend its operation for a given period of time. The company is not being liquidated here, but the company suspend its operation for a given period of time, and the company intends to resume operation after that period of time. So number two is when the company goes into liquidation. When the company goes into liquidation, any floating charge created by the company will do what? Will crystallize. Number three is when we have default by the company, to pay interest and the principal amount. If, for example, the company had issued debentures, or the company had maybe borrowed a loan from the bank, the company has defaulted in paying any of the interest or the principal amount, then any floating charge created by the company will do what? Will crystallize. Number four, we talked about commencement of recovery proceedings. Commencement of recovery proceedings against the company. Recovery proceedings against who? Against the company. In this case, when talk about recovery proceedings, this whereby the company has been sued in a court of law due to non-payment of some debts. The company owes the creditor certain amount of money, but the company has defaulted in terms of paying those particular debts which are owed to the creditor. So, and the creditors have already moved now to the court of law. So any floating charge created by the company will do what? Will crystallize. Number five, we say the floating charge can also crystallize when another floating charge crystallizes. When another floating charge do what? Crystallizes. When another floating charge crystallizes. So we say, if, for example, the company has created a number of floating charges, like 2 or 3, so crystallization of one triggers or basically makes the other floating charge to do what? To crystallize. To do what? To crystallize. So therefore, these are basically some of the instances when the floating charge created by the company may do what? May crystallize. May do what? May crystallize. So I think that basically what was required there. Okay, I'm told by Aaron we have not done question 1A and B. Okay, so let's go back to question 1. Question 1, and I think we start with part B. So part B, what are we required to do? We're required to explain the meaning of the holding company in relation to another company. So in other terms, what we are required to do here is we explain, in other terms, we define what is a holding company. What is a holding company? How do we define a holding company? Now, remember this, we came across this in the first topic. Is it first topic or basically topic? Yes, the first topic, the topic on nature and classification of companies. And actually, we say a holding company. A holding company. Remember, this one can also be known as the parent company. And the holding of or a parent company is a company. Is a company which is a company. Number one, holding more than half, or basically more than 50% of the shares. Actually, we can talk of not just any other shares, but more than half or 50% of the equity, or basically ordinary shares of another entity, or basically another company. So if a company holds more than half or more than 50% of the shares issued, or the ordinary or equity shares issued by another company, that company is called what? A holding company. Number two, we say the holding company is a company which controls the composition of the board of directors, board of directors, B or D, of another company. Of another company. So in this case, we said controlling the composition of the board of directors means that it is the holding company which appoints majority of the directors, majority of the directors in the subsidiary company. In other terms, the parent company controls the composition of the board of directors of the other company. And actually, remember in this case, the other company here, this is the company which is called the subsidiary company. Number three, we say the holding company is a company is a company controlling, or basically which controls, not controls, rather we can talk of, yes, let's just talk of control the voting rights, or actually let's talk of a company which holds more than half. Let's put it like that, which holds more than half, or basically 50% of the voting rights of another company. Basically, what that means is that if, for example, you have two companies, basically company A and company B, and company A holds more than half. In other terms, company A has got a majority voting right in company B. Then in this case, we say that company A is actually regarded to be the parent, or basically the holding company, whereas now the other company, that is company B, shall be deemed to be what? Shall be deemed to be the subsidiary company. Shall be deemed to be what? Shall be deemed to be the subsidiary company. Shall be deemed to be the subsidiary company. So it holds more than half, or 50% of the voting rights of the other word company. So then number 4, we say that the holding company here, actually definition number 4 of a holding company applies whenever we have 3 companies. We have company A, and this company, for example, hold 50%. That is more than 50%. More than 50% of the shares issued by company B. And then company B hold more than 50% of the shares issued by company what? C. Now, this company here, remember, it will be a holding of this. It will be a parent company of company B, and then this company will be the parent company of company C. But because this company controls this, and this in turn controls this, then we say company A has got something called indirect control of a company what? Indirect control of a company C. So therefore, this shall be deemed to be a holding company as far as company C is what? Is concerned. And therefore, in that case, we say there we say that a holding company is a company that is a holding company of a company which is another holding company. So is a company which is a holding company of another company, holding what? Company. A holding company is a company which is a holding company of another company's holding company. So this one, company A, is a holding company of company B, and company B is a holding company of another company. That is company what? Company C. So therefore, we say that that's basically how we define a holding company. That's how we define a holding what? A holding company there. Yes. So, and actually we said from this, we should be able to define what is a subsidiary. Should also be able to define what is a subsidiary, because you can also be required to define what is a subsidiary. So if you're required to define a subsidiary, you can say a subsidiary company is a company, number 1, whose majority of the shares, that is whose more than 50% or half of its issued shares are held by another company, which is called the parent company. Number 2, a subsidiary company is a company whose composition of the board of directors is controlled by another company, whose composition of the board of directors is controlled by another company. Number 3, you can also say that a subsidiary company is a company whose more than 50% of the voting rights are basically held by another company, which is called the parent company. So that's basically the definition of the subsidiary company. That is the definition of a subsidiary definition of a subsidiary company. So that's basically what is required here. So then part C, we are to differentiate between a registered company and a cooperative society. Yes. So the question here, Major was asking about the differences between a registered company and a cooperative society. A registered company and a cooperative society. A registered company and a cooperative society. Registered company and a cooperative society. Between a registered company and a cooperative what? Society, and a cooperative society, and a cooperative what? Society, and a cooperative society. So registered company and what is known as a cooperative what? A cooperative society. So basically, here the candidates were just required to give the differences, between these two companies, between these two companies, between these two what? These two companies. Okay, just a minute. A registered cooperative society and a registered company. So basically, a registered company, recall, we say that this basically the particular company which is formed and also registered in accordance with the provisions of the Companies Act of 2015. What about the cooperative society? A cooperative society basically is any or basically is an association which is formed in order to promote the members' economic well-being. So, for example, in this case, we can come together, we form a circle, and we agree that we will be doing some savings, and maybe in case one of us maybe require a loan, so he can be able to come to that particular circle and basically do what? Borrow that loan. So the main objective for forming the cooperative society, we say, is not necessarily to make profit, but we say it is to promote that economic well-being of who? Of the members, to promote that economic well-being of who? Of the members. So the question here was actually asking about the differences between registered company and cooperative society. So we have basically a number of differences. Number one, we say that this one is registered by a person who is known as the commissioner of the cooperative development. Commissioner of the cooperative development. Whereas a cooperative society, we say that this one is registered by who? Is registered by a person called the registrar of companies. The registrar of companies. So that is the first difference. The other difference, we say that this one, that is a registered company, is registered in accordance with the Companies Act of 2015. So if you want to register a company, that company has to be registered in accordance with what? In accordance with the Companies Act of 2015. But on the other hand, we say that this one is registered in accordance with the Cooperative Societies Act. Cooperative Societies Act of 2008. So that is the other difference. The other difference between these two, we say that this company here is usually formed to do what? To sell goods, or provide services, with an objective of making profit. With an objective of making what? A profit. What about the cooperative societies? Cooperative societies, here we say that these ones are basically formed to serve the members. These ones are basically formed to serve the members. So cooperative societies are not formed with an objective of selling goods, basically providing services to the members of the public with an objective of making profit, but they are formed in order to do what? In order to serve the members. So the other difference is regarding the liability of members. We say the liability of members in a company, liability of members here is usually what? The liability of members is actually what? Limited. So if the company is not in a position to pay its debt, then we say that the members will not be required to come in and do what? And basically contribute money to pay the debts of the company. But in case of a cooperative society, we say the liability of members is actually unlimited. Limited. If a cooperative society here is not able to do what, to pay its debt, then the members will be required to come in. If the cooperative society is not able to pay its debt, the members of the cooperative society will be required to come in, contribute money to do what? To pay the debt of the cooperative what? Society, of the cooperative society. So maybe you can look on the last difference. And actually the last difference, we can say that a registered companies here, we said that we said what? We say that registered companies usually are managed by a top organ. The top organ in a company is known as the board of directors. This is the organ which is in charge of managing the affairs of the company. But basically, in a cooperative society, we say the top organ, or is managed by a top organ, which is known as a management committee, or basically committee of management. Committee of what? Of management. So those, among others, are some of the differences which exist between a cooperative society and what is known as a registered what? A registered company. A cooperative society and what? And a registered what? And a registered company. So yes, I think that is it. That's basically what was required in those two questions. So what we will do once we meet in